What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with an absolute banger of a video. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also head over to my Twitter account and follow me right now. I'm going to be following a few people back. I'm super close to 50,000 followers, boys. Hey, let's get there. Appreciate you guys, and thank you in advance for following. And also, before we dive into the video, let's take a moment for our sponsor today. This video is brought to you guys by MyBookie. March is here and the madness has officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Predict winners in each round of the MyBookie bracket contest for a chance to win a Bitcoin, a Doodle NFT that is valued at over $50,000, and over $100K more in cash prizes. Whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting the national championship winner, or simply looking for player and game props, MyBookie has you covered. Head over to MyBookie today and sign up using code GOBLIN in order to get in on the action today. March Madness is here, so what are you waiting for? Head over to MyBookie, use code GOBLIN. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Big thanks to them. Now let's dive into the video. Now this story took place a couple years ago, back in the beginning of 2020. And at the time, I had a court date that I had to attend that was up in my old town I grew up in. Now at this point, I had just recently moved out of my mom's house and into my own place, so I had like a 3.5-hour road trip up to my court date. Now, my mom was not cool with me staying with her because she thought I was going to bring 9 different drugs into the house, so I opted to get a hotel so I could bring 9 different drugs there because she was right. So I booked myself a nice room at the luxurious Red Roof Inn. Now, those of you guys who have been around the channel for a while might remember I lived in a Red Roof Inn for like 2 weeks one time. It was a blast, honestly. Red Roof Inn, I mean, as long as there's not that many tweakers or prostitutes there, it's kind of a good deal, bro. I don't know. So I had booked a couple nights staying in the Red Roof, and I drove up to my court date, but I got there like a day before my court date was actually happening. So I had a whole free day ahead of me the next day, and I also had absolutely nothing to do the night I got there. I got into my room around like 8 or 9 o'clock, and I started hitting up some of my friends that I hadn't seen in a while. One of the first people and only people to reply was a friend of mine who we're going to refer to as Paul. Now, I think I've talked about this guy in some of my really old videos, but I haven't, hung out with him at all really, except for this night, in years at this point. Even to this day, I haven't seen him since this night, right? So we didn't really hang out very frequently at this point, but Paul was a buddy of mine who I met back in high school, and we have a bit of a past, right? For a while, we actually hated each other, because one time he came over to my house and stole some of my weed, and then I went over to him and I stole some of his edibles, because he didn't know that I already knew that he stole some of my weed yet. So he still, was trying to be buddy-buddy with me, so I hit the reverse lick. We both eventually made up, we kind of got into a little bit of beef, we made up about it, and now we're good friends, right? The reason I don't really kick it with him is not because I don't like him. It's just because he lives far away and the guy's busy. He's got a big boy job now, We didn't have those when we were younger. But either way, at the time, I hadn't seen him in a long time, and, I wanted to catch up a little bit. So I hit him up, and he responded to me, and he was like, yeah, dude, where you at right now? Let's link up. I told him I was in the Red Roof, and he asked if he could bring a buddy of his, and I was like, yeah, dude, I don't mind. Go for it. I had no idea who the friend was. He didn't tell me. He was just like, yeah, I'm just going to bring a homie with me if that's cool. Turns out I already knew the guy, but we'll get to that part later. So I'm chilling in the Red Roof for a little bit, and all I really had on me at this point was a little bit of weed. I also had a very, very small amount of coke. Not a crazy amount, I'm talking a gram. I did not have cocaine to go around here. Definitely not. But I was back up in my old town, and at this point I knew that I would probably be able to re-up, so no big deal, Eventually, Paul gets there, and he shows up with his buddy. Turns out I knew the guy. He's a guy who we're going to call Ryan, and Ryan is someone that I don't really think I've talked about much in my previous videos, but he was notorious for selling and also aggressively consuming almost every drug under the sun. I mean, this guy is a fucking tweaker, dude. But somehow he always managed to serve. He managed to stay afloat. I mean, I'm talking this guy would do more ketamine than anyone I've ever met in my life. The quantity of K he would do was unbelievable. I don't know how this guy doesn't have a saddle on his back by now doing that much horse tranquilizer. I mean, this fucking guy is a ketamine animal. So I see him and I'm like, oh, long time no see. Last time I saw this guy, he sold me some dog shit K. So already we're off to a bad start. But I invite them both into my room and we're chilling out. Luckily, Paul and Ryan both brought some weed, so we all throw down and match. We've all had some wraps with us, so we're rolling up some blunts. Now, the thing I enjoyed most about the Red Roof was the fact that it seemed the smoke alarms did absolutely fucking nothing. I mean, you could hotbox this room with like 4 blunts at a time, absolutely smoked out, and I swear to you, the alarms would not go off at this Red Roof Inn. It was like Christmas, dude. Every room was a smoking room, but you didn't have to pay extra. I mean, to be fair, I don't really think they cared we were smoking weed because most of the other tenants were probably smoking meth. So I think we were kind of flying under the radar a little bit with our blunts. But we spark up, we roll like 2 blunts up, and we spark up, and we're catching up a little bit. Like I mentioned earlier, it had been a while since I'd seen either of these dudes, especially Ryan and also Paul. So we're catching up, chatting it up, and Paul's telling me about life, all the shit he's been up to lately. Ryan's just telling me about ketamine. He's like, oh, dude, I got some way better shit now, Because I mentioned to him, I was like, Ryan, last time I bought some K, the shit you served me was kind of awful. And he was like, yeah, dude, I mean, I got some better shit now. Like, you can try some later if you want. Now, that piqued my interest. At this point, I hadn't done ketamine in a very long time. I hadn't done any K in, like, ages, quite honestly. I mean, here and there, I'd do, like, a bump of it, but I hadn't consistently or even done any more than a bump or two throughout the whole night in ages. Like, probably, honestly, years at this point. Now, last year in 2021, I got into a pretty hard ketamine binge, but this was a year before that. This gave me my little taste, dipping my toes in the water for my early 2021 binge, which we'll talk about in some different videos. But, back on topic here. So, after we smoke these blunts, we're chilling out, and Ryan busts out some K. Now, I mentioned to him, like, hey, you said I could try some earlier, and he's like, bet, yeah, I got you. I'll give you like a small line. Now, he was offering a large quantity. Normally with ketamine, for those of you guys who have never done it, a line is too much, especially if you don't do it consistently. You want to take a bump. I'm talking like the corner of a debit card or like the tip of a house key or a car key size bump. Very small quantities. You don't want to go too overboard with ketamine. So he offered me a small line, and right off the bat, I'm sitting there thinking to myself like, oh, this shit's got to be pretty weak, If this guy's already offering up a fucking line, like, this shit's got to be awful, Typical Ryan content. So I, of course, obliged to take the line, and I roll up a bill, and I take this line, and I'm not gonna lie, the taste was very, very strong. I mean, ketamine, when you take a line or a bump of this shit, it has a really distinct taste. It's kind of hard to describe, but I would say it's like, it's awful, by the way, but it's kind of like it's like Molly, but more like bitter, if that makes sense. It is a very chemically taste, though, and I say it's most comparable to the taste of Molly. So any of you guys who have ever done Molly out there, you already know, this tastes like shit, and it drips down the back of your nose so bad. It drips worse than Coke. The K drips are awful. So I take this line, and immediately, I'm feeling nice, bro. My face is starting to kind of numb out a little bit. I feel that kind of calamity, or that calmness. Is calamity even a word, bro? I don't know, dude. I'm fucked up. But either way, let's continue. So I feel this kind of calmness, this sense of, like, tranquility, if you will. I mean, I'm off a fucking tranquilizer, so it makes sense. Just going through me, and I'm like, oh, this actually isn't too bad of K. Now, it was still fairly weaker than some of the ketamine I used to get from Ashton, definitely weaker, but nevertheless, this was still a lot better than the other shit I'd ever really done from him, and a lot better than some of the other stuff I'd done from other plugs in general, so I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I ended up actually buying some from him. I bought like a 0.2 of this shit, and I think I gave him like, I don't know, maybe $20 or some shit, which, I mean, a little tax, but it's no biggie, whatever. I didn't really mind. $20 is $20, fuck it. I'm getting off the tranquilizer. So I bought another 0.2, and I kind of set it aside for a little bit because I was feeling nice off that line that I took. We're chilling out, chatting a little bit, and Paul mentions to me, he's like, yo, dude, we should go get some food. Like, I'm pretty hungry. Now, right down the block from the Red Roof I was staying at was a Wendy's and a McDonald's. We had it all, baby. I mean, I'm talking big baller shit, you know? So I'm like, absolutely, bro. Let's go drive through somewhere. We go and we hop in Paul's car and we ride over, and I brought my K with me like a fucking idiot, and so did Ryan. We're sitting in the car and we get in the Wendy's drive-thru and the line is very long. So I'm like, yo, Ryan, you want to do a bump with me or some shit? He's like, yeah, bro, like let's do it, you know? So I open up the tiny little baggie that he gave me. This guy would always roll around. It was hilarious. He would never bring plastic bags. This guy would roll around with saran wrap on him, like a whole roll of this shit in his bag. It was hilarious. This guy was ready to serve at any moment, you know? And, you know, it's interesting to think about for me, because, like, if he got pulled over with that, let's say he had no scale, just saran wrap and some K all in one bag, would he get charged with intent to distribute? Because normally they, like, if you have a bunch of baggies and then some drugs, they'll charge you with that. But saran wrap, I mean, bro could just say he was wrapping up his fucking leftovers or some shit, you know? I mean, hey, they can't deny it. Either way, I don't know, dude, food for thought. Back on topic here. So, we're in this Wendy's drive-thru, and we hadn't even gotten up to order yet, and there were still like 4 cars in front of us. So we knew we had some time to blow. I stick my little key into the ketamine bag, and I get a little bump out. Now, Ryan does the same thing, and Paul is sitting there, and he's like, you guys are fucking idiots. But also, I want a bump too. So me and Ryan, we take our bumps, and then Ryan scoops one out for Paul and gives Paul one too. Now, Paul hadn't done any K, at least that I knew of, since he got into the hotel at this point. So I was like, hey, homie can have a little bump, whatever, dude. We're vibing, you know? No, I'm sitting in the back, and I don't know what was up with this second bump, but this shit smacked me in the face, dude. It felt like I just squared up with Brock Lesnar, bro. I got fucking rocked. We're sitting in the Wendy's drive-thru, and I remember I just feel the heaviest feeling come over my body. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, each of my arms weighs at least 1,500 pounds right now. I mean, I'm swole. This is crazy, you know? I am glued to the back seat of Paul's car, dude. I am plastered into it at this point. Paint me fucking onto it, dude. I'm gonna be there for a long time. I am plastered into it. And I try saying something to Ryan and Paul. I don't really remember what the fuck I was trying to say, but I just remembered that I kept slurring my fucking words, and they were laughing their asses off at me. Now, once you start slurring, you know that you've probably done too much K at that point. Eventually, once you kind of cross a certain threshold, you lose the ability to speak fluently. I'm not talking like you'll stutter every now and then. No, bro, it's much worse than that. I'm talking like you will sound like you're on 9 different drugs and blackout drunk at the same time. Not a single word that comes out of your mouth will make sense. You cannot pronounce anything correctly. It's like just a jumbling of sounds. I'm sitting in the backseat of their car and they're talking normally like that, like I am right now, and then I'm in the backseat talking to them and I'm just like, hey, yeah, and they're laughing their fucking asses off at me. So eventually I just gave up on talking. We got our food finally as I'm sitting there just vibing out to the music, and we get back to the hotel. I have zero fucking appetite at this point. I can't even really feel my mouth, let alone my face or the rest of my body. Now, luckily, I hadn't quite reached the point where I lost physical coordination as well. I'm very grateful for that, but mentally, my brain was not connecting to any part of my body. Like, I could walk fine, yeah. I felt very heavy and sedated, but I could still walk fine. But I had reached a point where I could barely fucking speak. We get into the hotel room, and I got out of the car surprisingly fine. Like, I didn't really stumble much or anything, at least from what I remember. I got back in the hotel room, and I jumped onto the fucking bed. I have never been so excited to lay down in my life. Paul's sitting on the desk chair, and Ryan is sitting on the desk, right? Like the actual fucking desk in front of the chair. And I am just sprawled out on this bed. And at this point, they aren't even talking to me because they know that I am K'd out of my fucking mind. So I'm just laying in this bed, pretty much drooling on myself, looking at the ceiling. And meanwhile, Ryan and Paul, I didn't realize yet, are rolling up some more blunts. Now, they finished these blunts, and they said nothing about, I mean, maybe they did. I was just so K'd up, I didn't process. But as far as I know, they didn't say shit about it. They just sparked them up and passed a blunt my way, and that made my fucking night. Now, Honestly, I don't know if it's just me, but whenever I smoke weed on K, I don't really notice much of a difference. It's more so just like a pastime, you know? Like when I'm all K'd up, I enjoy smoking because I like seeing the smoke billow out of my mouth. It's cool, you know? Like I won't even exhale when I'm K'd up sometimes. I'll just open my mouth and let the smoke come out slowly and be like, wow, you know? Like I'm an 8-year-old watching baby sensory video. No, that's too old. Like a 2-year-old. I don't know, bro. Maybe like a fucked in the head 8-year-old. Either way, all right, back on topic. So, I'm sitting there just chiefing this blunt, feeling fantastic. And after we finish up these blunts, finally, Ryan and Paul, they're like, yo, dude, we gotta head out. You know, it's getting late. And I had no idea how much time had passed until they said this. I didn't even realize it was already like fucking 2 a.m., dude. I thought that we had been together for maybe a couple hours. No, bro. We had been together at this point for like 4 fucking hours, dude, and I only did a line and a bump of K, and I'm barely able to speak, let alone think. So I was amazed, not gonna lie, at this K. It wasn't the best I'd ever done, but Ryan stepped it up. He wasn't lying. So they dip out, and now I'm laying here alone. I'm still functioning well enough to move around and do some stuff, so I opted to try to roll a blunt, which ended up being the worst mistake of my life. I start trying to roll the blunt, and I can barely even gut the thing evenly, dude. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I start gutting this blunt, and I get maybe halfway down, and I just snap the fucking thing in half, because I don't really know how to be delicate with it, because I can't even feel my fingers. So I pull out my next wrap, and I didn't realize quite yet that this was actually my last. I pulled out my next wrap, and I fucked that thing up too. I didn't snap it in half quite this time, but instead I just gutted it so unevenly, I might as well have pissed on it and tried to roll it. After that, I started fumbling around my room for wraps, and I quickly gave up, realizing that I ran the fuck out. I just botched my last 2 wraps, did not have any glass with me, and couldn't smoke weed. I was blown. I said, you know what? Fuck this. We're going to bed, boys. So that's exactly what I did. I went to bed enraged. But I couldn't really be that mad because I was fucking K'd up, you know? Like in my heart, I was mad. But in my body and mind, I really wasn't. I was actually okay. Just like deep down, I knew that if I wasn't on ketamine, I would be mad. So I was like trying to express that, you know, to myself. You know what I'm saying? But either way, I knocked the fuck out that night, slept like a baby, and I woke up the next day and had a little K for breakfast, you know? Because I had some leftovers, man. You gotta finish the leftovers before they go bad. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, go follow me on Twitter and help me get to 50K. I'm gonna be following a few of you guys back, so make sure you check the link in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, gamers.